Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I'm that big Ush. Over here is apparently today he's the Moose Daddy, but it is the Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Hey, this is the episode before Christmas, so I gotta try and get as festive as I can. And what's more festive than a moose at wintertime, right?
Die Hard.
Let me go jump out of a building real quick, and with explosions behind me.
You throw someone out. As long as these are terrorists,
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. We have a very interesting week of games. I mean, we're recording now, and the games that just ended. Wacky framework of events, riddled with health concepts that we're not really going to go into because we don't really do COVID talk here. But getting into the actual games, we're going to start way back. Feels like such a long time ago. Thursday night, the New England Patriots went into Indianapolis and they got shellacked by those Colts, 27-17. Carson Wentz didn't have to do nada. That Colts defense was just flying around. Jonathan Taylor doing Jonathan Taylor stuff, but he didn't even have to do all that much. It almost felt like an easy game. Like the Pats did make a good run there at the end, and then Jonathan Taylor just closed it out. Any thoughts on this one, Sean?
New England's played some interesting games because their last game was the high wind game against Buffalo, and they won the game by passing the ball only 3 times. Now in this one, Carson Wentz only completes 5 of his passes. And Wentz looked bad in this one. He finished 5 of 12, 87 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had several poor throws, which is really saying a lot considering he only attempted 12 passes. But this is the new Colts. They're going to rely heavily on the run game and their defense. Now for this one, the Patriots were just plagued by mistakes. They were down 7-0 in the first. Jacoby Myers dropped a 3rd down pass, which proved to be a very pivotal point in the game because that next play was a punt that the Colts ended up blocking and scoring a touchdown on. Okay, now you're down 14-0. Mac Jones started looking like a rookie. He was leading the Patriots at the end of the first half into the red zone potential scoring drive, and he just didn't see Darius Leonard. He just didn't see him. Leonard picked it off, killed momentum. Opening the third quarter, their first possession, Mac Jones makes a late throw, and Indianapolis's linebacker ends up jumping the route for another interception. Colts go up 20-0, and then later in the third, what really killed me was Mac Jones converted a 3rd down pass by throwing across his body and across the field to Hunter Henry. I'm thinking, man, that one should have been picked off too. But started to recover. Patriots got going, but it was too little too late. They pulled within 3 points in the fourth quarter, but then Jonathan Taylor just said game over, and he busted out a 67-yard run where
the turbo.
Not only did he hit the turbo, he faked out Dante Hightower because Hightower overran the play, inadvertently blocked his own teammates. Jonathan Taylor was like, hey, thanks for the assist. I'm calling game. Yeah, very, very strange, but if the Colts can win ball games, only allowing Carson Wentz to throw 12 times, they might be in good position.
All right, so I'm off. And,
yeah, you are.
Sounds like Sean's off too, because Sean didn't correct me. That was
I was
going to
wait. I was waiting until this was over to circle back to the Thursday night game.
That was the Saturday game. See, week was just all whacked out. I'm giving you the Saturday game. I didn't even remember the Thursday game, which was the thriller.
That was
Kansas
incredible.
City versus LA Chargers. Holy cow, that game was a monster game. Travis Kelce showed up and showed out. Other than Travis Kelce is awesome and the Chargers defense can't tackle. I mean, I guess when Derwin James isn't in the game because he gotten injured. There's not much else to say here other than Justin Herbert tried his best. There were some things I didn't agree with. I thought they should have went for it on one of the particular fourth downs, and I think they kicked. I didn't necessarily agree with that because I'm sitting there thinking like, this is Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is still looking like Patrick Mahomes. You need to close this game out. Now, note, that's me thinking a team should be aggressive. There's going to be another time later where there's a team that wasn't aggressive. Well, was aggressive, and I disagreed. It's just this particular time, just the way the game was shaping out, where the Chiefs were coming on hot. You know what I'm saying? You got to feel that game. And it just felt to me at the time that if the Chiefs got the ball, the Chargers weren't going to stop them.
No, and it showed in overtime because, I mean, not only did Travis Kelce have the best game of the season, he had the best game of his career in this one, racking up 10 catches, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, which includes that walk-off 34-yard touchdown in overtime where the Chargers just decided, hey, let's try not to tackle him. We think it's flag football. Didn't quite work.
Run right by him. This is tag football.
Exactly. What I did like about this was the Mahomes versus Justin Herbert, because I love that they play in the same division because I want to see these two go head to head for the next 5-10 years. I mean, in this
story.
one, yeah.
Funny story. I had texted you earlier this week, and you know that they're basically going through some nonsense and making a Young Guns 3, and your response was Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
Yeah. That was exactly it. Exactly. It's with these two teams, if they can keep their teams together, if they can stay competitive, that West Division is going to be a really fun one to watch. This one, Patrick Mahomes started off a little uneven in the first half, but second half overtime really kicked it into another gear. Tyreek Hill ended up helping out by making some incredible catches that otherwise would have been incomplete. Kelce helped out with his ability to make more yards after the catch.
When Denver sucks next year and they're up there with the number 1 overall pick and they get Bryce Young. Oh my
man. Well, I was thinking you have your division with Mahomes, Herbert, Carr, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's going to be a good division.
I thought Aaron Rodgers is going to the Bayou.
No, I thought you wanted him to go to the AFC. I didn't think you want him in the NFC.
I don't, but biggest, I can't. I don't have control. This is me understanding the lay of the land. Anyways,
I do have one note for play calling though.
Okay.
I liked Brandon Staley's aggressiveness. He's consistent with it.
I think he should have stayed aggressive though.
For the most part, he was 3 separate occasions inside the 5-yard line.
I'm talking about at the end when it was 4th and 2, right, like near the goal line, they could have gotten a first down. I'm just saying, I think he should have stayed with the pedal to the metal just because of how the Chiefs were playing. But
yeah,
moving on, we have Sunday's games. There were games on Sunday. I do remember. And first game, just get out of the way, out of the block. We've been able to do this for a little bit. Dallas Cowboys went into East Rutherford to face those Giants, and I'm not sure Dallas even really. I mean, they played, But it's almost like they toyed with the Giants, like the Giants were like a big ball of yarn for a cat. Honestly, this game was at no point in jeopardy. Even when Dallas was messing around and trying to get a deep shot for Dak, and Dak fumbled, this game was no point in jeopardy. The Dallas defense has bona fide studs all across the way. Let it be Micah Parsons, let it be Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, Neville Gallimore, or Trayvon Diggs. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
With the way the Giants were playing, I was expecting the Cowboys to win this one by about 50 points.
It's almost like they just were like, yeah, we're uninterested in playing anymore. And the Giants couldn't even capitalize off of that.
At no point the Dallas defense didn't let up. They had 4 takeaways. They had 9 pass breakups. The Cowboys offense, I felt, was slumping.
I disagree.
The low light goes to CeeDee Lamb, who ended up with 3 drops on the day.
He had some problems, but I disagree. I think the play calling was very conservative, and I think they just wanted to get out healthy. Everybody wants to say slumping. Go back and actually watch what's going on. Look at the series of play calling. I think they'll turn it on when they need to turn it on. But I think for a lot of these teams, like the Giants, the Saints, the football team, they're like, we don't need to beat these teams by 30. Their teams 30. Like, we don't need to score 30 plus points to beat these guys. Our defense can beat these guys. So we're just going to make sure we limit the mistakes.
And the hits keep coming for the Giants. Sterling Shepard suffered a torn Achilles, and his season is over, and likely his time with the Giants, too.
Saquon Barkley looks like a shell of himself. It's going to be interesting. Next up, we had the Panthers traveling to Buffalo, face those Bills, and Panthers might as well have stayed home.
Oh, I thought they did. Oh, okay. The Panther defense kept him in this game as long as they could. I mean, Buffalo's offense wasn't looking good, but I mean, it did a lot better than Carolina's offense because their offense continued to do the things I expected it to do, which is fail. Surprisingly, Cam Newton plays the entire game, but one thing remains true. They need to address the quarterback position in the offseason again. And I got my WTF moments in this game. And that is pre-game. Panther kicker Zane Gonzalez injures himself pre-game and he's declared out. Now, normally in situations like this, teams have backup and emergency options of what happens when their place kicker gets injured, because you're going to leave points in the field with extra points, field goal attempts. So normally teams will have a punter who can serve as a backup kicker, or someone else in the roster taking over those duties. Nope, not the Carolina Panthers. Before the game, they held an open competition amongst its players to see who would be a villain. So the fans in Buffalo retreated to the bloopers and the hilariously sad attempts of watching a variety of Carolina players attempting field goals and kickoffs, and eventually, wide receiver Brandon Zylstra won the kickoff duties. He only had to kick off 3 times. Needless to say, whenever Carolina scored, they attempted 2 each time. But how do you not have a plan B in mind? That's failure to prepare.
That's a coaching issue.
All right. Now, speaking of WTF moments, I got a couple of them throughout this whole segment today, but I do want to circle back to the Thursday night game for a WTF moment, and I'm surprised you didn't mention it.
What was that one?
Which is where Donald Parham ends up in the end zone, I think, on the Chargers' first possession.
And he
lands awkward, takes a bad landing. He's out, arms are stiff, he's not moving. And who was the announcer for that one?
I think that was Troy and Buck, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Joe Buck who mentioned.
You want me to get started on the terribleness of Joe Buck? Do you really need me to dive into that?
Commenting that Donald Parham is on the ground and he is moving, he's kind of shaking, and we're thinking something serious happened because like his arms are frozen, he's not moving much at all, and Joe Buck's like, well, it is cold out tonight in Los Angeles.
Jesus.
Really? This man's got a family at home. What do you think his family is thinking of as they're watching this game? Like, oh, my husband, my father, he's just cold. He's going to be fine.
Yeah,
He's going to be fine.
Let's move on.
Fortunately, he went to the hospital. He got the attention that he needed, and from my understanding, he is doing much better now. No thanks to Joe Buck.
Next game, we have the most surprising game of the week. The Arizona Cardinals got jet lag traveling to Detroit, and for whatever reason, they forgot how to play football. And they lost to what is considered the worst team, one of the worst teams in the league, and they're a playoff contender. They have not looked good the last 3 weeks, we should say. And I think there's cause for concern here. You just lost to Detroit. What do you think, Sean?
The whole time I'm thinking, what is happening? Without context, if I told you that one of these two teams was coming into this game with only one victory, and again, I gave you no context, you just watched the game, which team do you think had one victory on the season?
Arizona, obviously.
Yeah, the Lions did this without DeAndre Swift, without TJ Hawkinson, without Jamal Williams. Jared Goff led an offensive attack with Craig Reynolds, Josh Reynolds, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe there is hope for Jared Goff in Detroit.
Not this next game. Apparently Jared Goff is in that protocol we don't talk about.
So is half of the NFL.
This is true. Next up, we have the Jets traveling to Miami. Jets came out hot. We're up 2 scores right from the bat. But Miami battled back, and Miami wins 31-24. We're seeing some life from these Jets. I mean, there's not much quit here. Oh, got a cameo. But Tua is looking better and better each week. I mean, obviously, there's more that needs to be done to make this offense what it needs to be. Obviously, they were missing Jalen Waddle, so, I mean, that's some firepower there. But, I mean, Miami just rattled off another victory in that playoff hunt.
After losing 7 consecutive games, they've now won 6 in a row. This one, though, they did need to come from behind to win because they were not playing well in the first half. They came alive in the second half. They started playing better. Now, with Tua, you're going to get ball protection. You're going to get accuracy. But what you're not going to get is the arm strength. And that, for me, was apparent late in the game, whereas I think it was tied 17. And then Tua makes a throw and it gets intercepted, return for a touchdown. And I'm thinking, man, it's almost like that lack of arm strength was one of the bigger reasons the corner was able to jump around and just take it home.
But I also think Jalen Waddle makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Now, fortunately for the Dolphins, they're playing Zach Wilson, who is experiencing a lot of difficulties with his Dolphin defense. He couldn't read or pick up the blitz. He was sacked 6 times. He didn't have any interceptions according to the box score. But man, he left some bad throws out there. And he looked overwhelmed. Now, did you expect Duke Johnson to be the hero in this one?
Hey, you never know what could happen. You already know how I feel about the backs on Miami. So I'm not even going to get into that nonsense. We're going to jump to the next game, where it's another weird one. The Titans facing the Steelers. It looked like the Titans had control of this, and then the Steelers do what the Steelers do. They rage back, but this week they weren't playing an offense that could score. So the Steelers were able to get control, win this game. At the same time, I know the Titans jumped out to some early leads in terms of the record, and I know they already swept Indy, but there's issues here. Am I wrong?
Not at all. The Titans dropped this game literally and figuratively, and they lost their grip of first place in the AFC. This was a huge game for them, and they didn't come through. But that's not surprising looking at who the Titans currently have on the offensive side of the ball. Speaking of not surprising, TJ Watt has another 1.5 sacks, wrecking the game any way that he can. Also experienced another injury in this game. And speaking of not surprising, Julio Jones suffered another hamstring injury. So,
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it looks like Atlanta got the better end of that deal trading Julio Jones.
I mean, all right, next up. We got Sean's favorite matchup of the week. Maybe the matchup of the year for him. The Houston Texans went into Jacksonville, faced those Urban Meyer-less Jacksonville Jaguars. No Urban Meyer, no difference. Jacksonville still looks bad. Houston beats the brakes off of them, 30-16. Yeah, they need a new head coach. They need a lot of players. They need to do a lot in Jacksonville. Houston, on the other hand, that's all I got.
Just a sigh. Just a sigh. You know, it's not bad commentary. It's pretty accurate. Urban Meyer is gone. That is the highlight of this game. Urban Meyer is gone. The Jaguars.
James Robinson got used.
It was a free James Robinson game. Jaguars are able to breathe easier. They don't have Urban Meyer and the saga that he brought, but the fact is, and this may be due to Urban Meyer in some part, they still have one of the worst rosters in the NFL.
Gross.
I didn't expect them to come out and win this game. Like, when I heard that Urban Meyer was fired, I didn't automatically think
something, right? You expected maybe some juice.
I think we saw better than what we've seen with Urban Meyer.
Did we?
It didn't get worse. I'll give you that. It didn't get worse.
We probably saw better sequencing, but the play wasn't better. I mean, there's a reason why. I'm just saying, these players, it's not a good team. It's just not a good team.
No, and your number one overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, was outplayed by the 67th pick in Davis Mills. And I mean, if the Jaguars could have waited until the third round, they could have drafted Davis Mills instead of Andre Cisco and had the better quarterback. I'm joking. That's just a joke.
But coaching matters. Situation matters. This is proof of it right here. It is sad to say that the Houston Texans have better weapons and better coaching than the Jacksonville Jaguars. That tells you something right there. That tells you how bad Jacksonville is.
Jacksonville has lost 6 in a row. Houston has now won their third game of the season. Granted, 2 of these games have come against Jacksonville, right. But still, they're up to win number 3 in the season.
All right, next up, we have the weirdest score game out there. We have the Cincinnati Bengals going to Denver to face those Broncos. Cincinnati wins 15-10. This game was sloppy. I'm sorry. The quarterbacks weren't playing particularly good. Most of the receivers, in my opinion, weren't playing particularly good. Mm-hmm. Teddy Bridgewater gets knocked out of the game, and actually, And I mean, prayers out to Teddy. I hear he's doing better, but it was. I mean, it was nasty what happened. He was out before, like right when he hit the ground, he was out. But I actually think at times Denver looked better with Drew Lock, but then Drew locked. So it was. Denver's another team that needs to get a quarterback situation worked out. That being said, Cincy did its job. Joe Burrow needs to go back to the drawing board. Him, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and figure this out. Also, Joe Mixon. I know they need him, but you can obviously see he's playing hurt.
Yeah, he has been for a few weeks now. We do know that Teddy Bridgewater was released from the hospital. He's doing well. So that's a great thing.
He's in the protocol.
I would expect Drew Lock to be the starter for the rest of the season because this is the second concussion that Bridgewater has
this year,
had this season. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't expect to see him back. It would be surprising.
It was just a really ugly game.
This is a Broncos team that is not designed to play from behind. They're meant to play with the lead, but what doesn't help them are the bad play calls, and that's on Pat Shurmur.
Well, again,
bad.
What are you doing with Jerry Jeudy? Like, what exactly are you doing with the most dynamic receiver on your roster? Like, what are you doing?
I think Pat Shurmur is indirectly putting Vic Fangio on the hot seat because your offense isn't doing much. It isn't doing much good. You have so much uncertainty with the quarterback position, but then you have to look at Vic Fangio too because there was some questionable clock management that the Broncos had, and they weren't playing well. This is a Denver team that is fighting for a playoff position. Mathematically, they're still there. Exactly. Mathematically, they're still alive for it. But with how they played, I don't see them as a playoff team. And if they do become a playoff team, I don't see them getting out of the opening rounds. Yeah.
All right, next up, we have the Falcons traveling all the way out to Santa Clara, face those Niners. And they found out Niners are playing some darn good football right now. Niners beat the Falcons 31-14. Interesting score there.
Yeah.
George Kittle couldn't be stopped again. Niners running game couldn't really be stopped. Falcons just they're just not a squad right now that can man up with another team and go toe to toe. They don't have that ability. Now the Niners, on the other hand, they can win ugly. They can put up points. This is a scary team.
You remember those things I was saying about the Colts and how they win games? You gotta make sure you're running the ball, playing defense, limiting what Carson Wentz is doing.
Right.
Copy and paste that for San Francisco, because what you want to do is you want to ride the running game, whether it's Deebo Samuel, whether it's Elijah Mitchell, whether it's Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon, whichever running back you want to put back there to get you some yards. Ride the running game, ride your defense. I mean, Nick Bosa had another dominant performance in this one. Ended up with a sack. I think he had 7 total pressures. So he was making his presence felt. And limit what Jimmy Garoppolo does. Now, in this one, Jimmy Garoppolo played pretty well. He had, 235 through the air at touchdown. He was throwing pretty well, but you don't want him to throw a lot.
All right.
I have a WTF moment for this game too.
Go ahead.
Because this is a special, because now you're having my third WTF moment of the week. Because that's just what kind of week this was, people. San Francisco defender Arden Key appears to sack Matt Ryan.
Oh, this is nonsense.
He does sack Matt Ryan, but he gets called for roughing the passer.
It's stupid.
Matt Ryan didn't even release the ball. He was still holding it. Arden Key gets hit with the roughing the passer for landing on him. What? So at what point do quarterbacks start wearing the flag football belts around their waist and defenders just have to pull the flag off? At what point do we get there? You might as well slap the red jersey on each and every quarterback out there. That's how protected they are. And I thought it was utterly ridiculous.
All right, Sean, next game, I'm going to let you go. You know I always let you go with this game, but I do have an opinion after you're done.
All right. For this one, I'm actually focusing on Baltimore a lot. I'm not going to focus a lot on Green Bay. Green Bay, besides special teams, Green Bay did what Green Bay was supposed to do. Tyler Huntley, he draws another start for the injured Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens looked good again. Mark Andrews looked unstoppable again. And John Harbaugh made another aggressive call to dial up a 2-point conversion attempt with the game on the line again. Similar to Pittsburgh, it was a failed pass attempt to Mark Andrews with the game on the line, and the Ravens lose. I have no problem with the aggressiveness. And let me tell you, I really enjoyed the outcome of this one. I do love how Harbaugh was able to get the input from Huntley and Andrews even before attempting the 2-point conversion. What I didn't like was the actual play call, because Harbaugh dialed up a sprint right where Mark Andrews was the number 1 option. He was also the number 2 option and the number 3 option on that play.
Only option.
Exactly. The throw was between, I think it was Darnell Savage and Eric Stokes. Now, Stokes was able to get a hand on it, force the incompletion. Again, I liked the outcome of this play. What I didn't like is John Harbaugh. With the game on the line, you call a sprint right at the goal line. Now, this is a play that immediately moves your offense to the right side of the field because that's where your quarterback's running. You are taking away half of the field from your offense. Now, is there some blame for Huntley? I think there's some blame for Huntley too, because I went back. Yeah, that would have been close. But if you go back and watch it, you had Marquise Brown open in the middle of the end zone, but he only had eyes for Mark Andrews. Now, Marquise Brown had a step on the defensive back. Once he got past the linebacker, the Packers' entire defense was either moving toward Huntley or moving toward the corner of the end zone where Mark Andrews was going to be.
But
all he had to do, I know, the play call was designed to go to Andrews. But he had Marquise Brown open. All he did was just loft it in there. This would have been a completely different game. I love the outcome.
This is where I disagree with you. Because in this one, I think it's different than the Charger game. Because Green Bay was stalling at this point. I get it. I do. This is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers probably just, I don't know, throw down at that given point. And you get into overtime and Aaron Rodgers is just going to rev it back up. Or maybe with the how many seconds was it? Was it 41 seconds?
41, 42, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah.
Maybe with that 41 seconds. But at the time, when you're looking at the situation, Green Bay's offense wasn't doing much.
No, I agree with you on that one, because I think at that point, Baltimore had the momentum.
And that's what I meant more. We'll take that to overtime. Same thing as the Pittsburgh game. With the Pittsburgh game, they're a superior team. And I just don't necessarily agree in these situations. I have no problem with being aggressive because I think Brandon Staley should have been aggressive against the Chiefs because he wasn't stopping them. You know, that's more so my thought process there. He wasn't stopping them. He got his offense there, finished the job. This situation, the Ravens were doing pretty well. Take that to overtime and, let your team play. But hey, what do we know?
Again, I like the outcome of this game.
Next game, Sunday Night Football. The Saints go to Tampa, and Sean Payton looks at Bruce Arians and is like, I don't care if it's Jameis Winston, if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, if it's Tom freaking Brady.
Sean Payton wasn't even there.
I got your number. Doesn't matter if he was there. You know he installed this game plan.
He dialed up that game plan with Dennis Allen. He sure did.
Everybody's giving Dennis Allen credit, and Dennis Allen deserves credit because that defense is humming. But you know Sean Payton's fingerprints are all over this. And they won a baseball score. 9-0. Brady looked like absolute hot garbage. And I get it. Unfortunately, Chris Godwin is out for the year. I do agree. I don't like those tackles. I'd rather them go up high than go down low because I get it. Going up high, you might get a concussion or whatnot, and there's like long-term there, but you can see an ACL injury just waiting to happen, and it happened. But then Mike Evans also went out. They're already without Antonio Brown because Antonio Brown's an idiot. Leonard Fournette went down. So I get it. Brady's without all his weapons. But last time I checked, Brady's Superman, right? Brady. The rest of the team doesn't mean nothing. It's Brady. Well, you know something? This proves it. I know the Saints play them well anyway, but also it shows it. He didn't look good. And it's because Tom Brady also needs help. Because a quarterback needs help to win the games. Any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. Oh, man, I have so many thoughts. Let's start
on this
with...
game.
Oh, yeah. It was a nightmare game for Bruce Arians. Not only do you get shut out by the Saints, but then you suffer the injuries to Godwin for the year. Now, with Chris Godwin, and this goes out to all of the people who want to criticize players for sitting out and holding out for contracts. Chris Godwin was playing on a franchise tag, which means the money was only guaranteed for this year after the season ends.
I texted you.
There was nothing guaranteed for Chris Godwin. Now, this injury is going to end up costing him tens of millions of dollars, and it's a shame. This injury is the example of why we shouldn't get upset when players hold out for contracts, because we don't know. They subject themselves to a lot of physicality out there, and we don't know when is going to be their last play. One's going to be the play that really diminishes the skill and the quality of what they can put on the field. This is their livelihood.
Seriously.
So I have no problem if players want to hold out for the contract and the money that they think they deserve because of what they subject themselves to.
I also wonder what a game like this does to like one of the head coaching candidates like Byron Leftwich. Because let's be honest, Jacksonville, if Byron wanted that position, one of the easiest things he could have done was said, well, look at what the offense I've done. I know I have Tom Brady. And also, I can get Chris Godwin to come here. Now that becomes kind of a question. You know what
Having
I'm saying?
Chris Godwin go there is like, well, how long is it going to take Chris Godwin to recover and get up fully to speed?
Right. But before the injury...
Oh, yeah, that would have been huge sell. Didn't Cortland Sutton come back from a torn ACL? Did he have an ACL? And he hasn't looked like himself. He's been playing well, but he hasn't looked like himself.
No.
He has another year to recover.
I don't think we can put the same thing on him because Teddy's... it's not the same offense. This is...
No. Well, I'm just talking about coming back from the injury.
I get you, but I mean, there's other players that we've seen do it and look good. It's not the same offense for Cortland, so we can't use him as a proper. You know, I'm not going to doubt that Godwin can come back, but I don't think Godwin's going to be Godwin, especially when the injury happened till like mid next year. He might be ready for the season.
Exactly.
He won't be.
Exactly, and that was the point I was trying to make. Like, he's not going to look like the all-pro version of himself as soon as that next season starts. It may be the following season. It might be that 2023 season where he really comes back. I mean, he could have a very speedy, quick recovery.
We'll see what happens with Tampa though, because he's obviously been Brady's favorite weapon this year.
Oh, absolutely. Losing him is going to be huge. You lost Mike Evans to a hamstring strain. He's considered week to week, so he does have a chance to suit up for week 16.
But still, the chemistry, I don't think he had the same with Evans. It's Antonio Brown's going to be the interesting one.
If he comes back, and I expect that he will, considering the losses of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just suffered. Leonard Fournette was placed on IR, and the Bucs are going to be signing Le'Veon Bell pending he passes the physical. But it all comes down to Brady. What did Brady do once these players went out? Now, he didn't look very well. No. He didn't look good while they were still in the game, though. So we have to admit that.
We'll see how But no, with Godwin. When Godwin was in the game, he was still, there was some rhythm going on. They were moving the ball. Once Godwin went down, meh.
Yep. And I just want to make a quick comparison because earlier in the year, another quarterback who had to play without his top two wide receivers and most of his offensive line, he still makes it happen. But I'm not going to name names. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead.
He did have a full week of practice of knowing he wasn't going to have them, though. Whatever. Yeah. Anyways, now we have a Saturday night game that got moved to Monday because of situations, and they didn't have their quarterback. I'm pretty sure. Did they have their backup quarterback? No, I don't think they had their backup.
No, they went with third quarterback Nick Mullins.
The third quarterback. And so the Ravens went into Cleveland to play said Browns with their third string quarterback. And the Browns mounted as much of an effort as they could with the situation that they had. Almost won. Now, note, a lot of people said serves the Browns right for losing this because on that last drive they played scared, and it's true. 3 straight run plays. That being said, it is what it is. Any thoughts on this, Sean?
The Browns let this game slip away. They should have won this. The Raiders barely got past the COVID-ravaged Cleveland Browns. And if you want offense, this was not a game that you wanted to watch. Some of the best highlights of this game were on defense and special teams. There wasn't much offense that you were actually looking for. I mean, there was a nice Nick Chubb touchdown. Las Vegas had the touchdown, I think, to Bryan Edwards early in the game. But outside of that, Cleveland had the chance to put this one away late in the fourth quarter. You're up by a point. You intercept Derek Carr with about 2.5 minutes left. All you have to do is move the chains and kill the clock. What do? 3 and outs. You give Derek Carr the ball back with too much time. He leads Raiders in the field goal range. Daniel Carlson hits the game-winning field goal as time expires. Womp, womp, womp.
Pretty much.
Yep, that's what it was.
And that literally, this loss, because if they would have won, they would have been in first place in the North. But they lost, so now they're in last in the North. That's crazy.
I know, but saying they're in last is, like, all these teams are one game apart, right? They're very close. So being in last doesn't mean they're completely out of it. They still have a shot, but I mean, it's really not looking good for them.
All right, the other Monday night game was kind of a stinker. It had the Minnesota Vikings go into Chicago. Chicago's whole secondary is ravaged by COVID. You think, all right, Minnesota's going to go in here and they're going to throw over the field. Well, Chicago apparently has Kirk Cousins' number because Cousins couldn't do a dang thing. Now, the Vikings still win 17-9 because, the Vikings defense is better than the Bears offense. That being said, you saw some bright shining moments for Justin Fields, but that Bears offensive line is bad. Justin Fields isn't there. The Bears wide receivers aren't great. I ain't got much else to say about that. Yes. And the play calling still sucks.
Well, this one's all on Matt Nagy because Bill Lazor was out. He wasn't calling. All the coordinators were out for this game.
One more thing, because
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Sean. Why did Matt Nagy wait till the fourth quarter to let Justin Fields start slinging it, and all of a sudden their offense started moving?
I'm going to guess 1 part desperation, and you mix in 1 part stubbornness. Stir and drink. Pretty sure that's what it was.
Didn't
Because
he get unsportsmanlike for this game?
I think Matt Nagy knew his job was on the line for this one. I'm not even going to talk about Matt Nagy anymore. I do want to talk about Justin Fields real quick because you're right. It wasn't until late in the game when he started looking good and the Bears offense started moving down the field. But my notes for this game include, welcome to the NFC North, Justin Fields. He took some good clean hits, some hard hits like his first sack.
Oh, no. What about the... I'm
He
sorry, that one
took
hit
some-
was dirty.
He took some questionable hits, like the one where he was taking a knee after a bad snap, though I truly am convinced that
He
the
didn't see it.
defender was unaware that he was kneeling down, so I'm not even...
But was Eric Kendricks aware?
That was the dirty hit. He had clearly given himself up the feet first slide, only to be blasted helmet to helmet by Eric Kendricks. That was the dirty hit. That
I was
was...
surprised he wasn't taken out of the game, though. I was very surprised.
He laid down for a second, got right back up. But welcome to the NFC North, Justin Fields. Welcome.
All right, now, for the essence of time, we're going to jump to the Tuesday games. Yes, people, you heard it right. They were Tuesday games.
There's games on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Man, this is great.
All right, so the Seattle Seahawks went into LA, just right down the street, to face those Rams. And this game was actually a lot of defense for most of it. Now, unfortunately, Sony Michel and Cooper Kupp were a little too much to overcome. And I know Sean McVay says that he's had 2 number 1 running backs. Well, if this game was any testimony, I think Sony Michel has now got a stranglehold over that particular position. I could be wrong, but I think Sony Michel's the guy now.
McVay is going to ride the hot hand at running back. That's what he's going to do. And right now, it looks like Sony Michel. It's his job to lose.
He's just more talented. But the Rams get that W. Now there's a battle for who's going to win the West between the Rams and the Cardinals. And those Seahawks have problems.
The Seahawks have a lot of problems. One of the problems they didn't have was their defensive line because Carlos Dunlap had,
Nasty.
3 or 4 sacks?
Made Andrew Whitworth look old.
I mean, he is, but he really made him look old. On the other side, you had Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller all crushing whatever there is of a Seattle offensive line.
All right, so.
Yeah.
So
Cooper Kupp did Cooper Kupp things.
Yes, he did. So lastly, the last game, which was on at the same time as the other game, we had the Washington football team go into Philly, face those Eagles, and right when Jalen Smith makes you think, okay, this guy's just not that good, he goes and he gives you a game. And the Eagles win 27-17. It looked like Washington was going to do something early on. Antonio Gibson gets a toe injury, but it leaves the game, then comes back in the game. But it looked like the time he was out of the game gave the Eagles enough time to adjust, and it just, Washington just couldn't hang. Also, let's be honest, Washington's another one of those teams missing both their quarterbacks, and they had just signed 3 quarterbacks, sorry.
Well, no, they were on their third quarterback. They were on their third quarterback.
And they just signed Garrett Gilbert just off the street to come in here and play. And yeah, He couldn't get it done.
Nope. If Washington had any chance at winning this game, it was feeding the ball to Antonio Gibson every play, whether it's running, whether it's the passing game. That was their only hope. It worked on their second drive because I think they gave the ball to Antonio Gibson every single play, got a touchdown. But we also know that Antonio Gibson has not been the most durable player this year.
Don't I know?
Yeah, you know very well. And at that point, Philadelphia. I don't even know what to say about Philadelphia.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. And we'll see coming up. They've got some games. We'll see if they're for real or not. All right. That being it for this week, for this episode. Any words of wisdom for the people, Sean?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Let me back up the butt. I didn't give my WTF moment. My WTF moment, I got like multiples from the same game. Ed Hockley's son, I don't know his name, but he's got to be the crappiest ref in the entire NFL. No joke. No joke at all. Like, just terrible. There was a situation early in the game where they had no clue what they were doing. They literally had no clue. Was it supposed to be a call or not a call? And then later in the game, and this is the funniest thing, this is the one type of penalty I always complain about. Let's not reward teams for bad throws. Now with this throw, the defender did go straight through the receiver earlier. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like face guarding. And they didn't call it. Not only did they not call it, but they called it unsportsmanlike on top of the fact. I don't understand this. I really don't get it. Somebody explain.
Well, I mean, if we're going to be putting officials on blast for a couple of seconds, I got another WTF moment for the week then. And it's going to be toward the end of the Titans and the Steelers game, where Tennessee was driving, and I think they had run the ball. It was clear they were short of the first down, but the official placed the ball at or beyond the line of gain. And then they did the whole chain thing. And then, you have to imagine that the officials in New York are talking to these guys saying, hey, you screwed up the place of the ball. You can't give them the first down.
They did the same thing in this Rams game. I don't remember the exact play, but like it was way after the play, and then they went and they corrected it, and he just looked like a dumb shit, just sitting there like, yeah. Anyways, off of that,
Right.
Words of wisdom, Sean.
Yes, it turns out that you cannot kick your employees and expect to escape without consequence.
That is true. You normally can't kick people in general and not get away without consequence. Something's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. So I guess your words of wisdom is don't kick people
and expect to get away with it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's solid. Solid one. My words of wisdom, just letting y'all know, 3 espressos, it's kind of a bad idea.